Oh, he called in sick today. I guess that's why there was no charcuterie board in my dressing room. I'm gonna have to fix that. Hi, I'm Gruffus. Welcome to Puppet Tabletop, and today we're gonna be taking a look at Disney's The Haunted Mansion: Call of the Spirits. Well, how did he get sick? He drank Splorgle Blast? How many times have I told you guys, stop giving that to the crew? Well, this video's coming out a week later than I expected, but that's because last week we had our annual Halloween beer pong competition. It's a tradition that we've been doing for about 11 years now, but honestly I'm getting older, so it takes me a lot longer to recover. I guess I ain't no spring chicken. Anyway, my voice doesn't sound as rough as it did a couple days ago, so we're back with our 4th review. And yeah, the 5th one's gonna be tomorrow, because tomorrow's Halloween, so chop chop. Anyway, today we're going full Disney adult as we take a look at the board game inspired by the classic Disneyland ride, The Haunted Mansion. As I've mentioned before, I grew up in Southern California, so annual passes to Disneyland were basically like summer daycare for me and my brother Topher. Even back in the day, daycare was pricey, but an annual Disneyland pass would only run about $400. It's a lot of money, but it pales in comparison to daycare, so Disneyland was pretty much my babysitter. Anyway, so imagine my surprise when I was wandering through the store and saw this bad boy. So in the Haunted Mansion board game, you're going to be going around all the different rooms in the Haunted Mansion trying to socialize with as many ghosts as you can, all with the aim of collecting sets of ghosts to score points. You'll set up the game by shuffling the various decks, setting up the board, placing the hitchhiking ghosts in the crypt room, and putting your player piece in the center seance room. The game is super simple and only consists of 2 phases. The first phase is the event phase, where you reveal a card from the event deck. This card is going to cause the hitchhiking ghosts to make their way around the board. And even though these guys are a fun, goofy delight on the ride, in the game, they're a huge pain in the butt. If they move through your room or end on your room, you'll be forced to draw a haunt card. These are cards with various values that you really don't want to collect, because they can seriously set you back at the end of the game. We'll get into that later though. After moving the hitchhiking ghosts, you reveal a number of ghost cards equal to the player count plus 3 and place them in the rooms going clockwise from the hitchhiking ghosts. You'll then read the bottom of the event card, where there will be a condition that'll be in play for the remainder of the round. And once that's done, you get to move on to the action phase. During this phase, each player can take up to 3 actions. You can spend an action to move from one room to the next around the edge of the hallway, or you can move into or out of the seance room in the middle of the board. You can also just rotate the entire hallway, forcing everybody to change their room. If you're in the seance room, you can discard one of those pesky haunt cards that I mentioned earlier. And if you're in a hallway space connected to a room with a ghost card, you can spend an action to socialize with the ghost and add them to your collection. But if the hitchhiking ghosts are in that same room, then you're going to have to draw a haunt card as well for each ghost that you socialize with. Lastly, if you're in the same room as another player, and you want one of the cards that they have, well, it's time to duel. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh is still popular. Is it? I don't know. Sometimes people at the board game cafe call me Unk, so, I think that means I'm old. In order to duel, you're going to need to pick a card belonging to a character in your space. Then you take these cool dials and both players wager however many haunt cards they're willing to gain in order to take that card. Both players then reveal, and if the person who initiated the duel has the higher number, well then they get to keep the card. This is probably one of the most interesting parts of the game because it gives you a direct method of interfering with other players. And sometimes, if you want to be a little bit nasty, you can use it to bait other players into a duel and then bet 0 just to make them take haunt cards. But yeah, I've pretty much explained the whole game there. Play just repeats this way until one of the bottom 4 event cards announcing the final round is drawn. At which point, everybody looks through all of the sets that they've collected to determine their final scores. Each type of ghost has their own scoring criteria and set collection conditions that you have to meet in order to score them. Then, everybody counts up the values listed on all of their haunt cards. If you're the most haunted player, then you have to discard all of your ghosts of whatever type you have that's the most numerous. At which point, whoever has the most points left is the winner. So, what did I like about the Haunted Mansion: Call of the Spirits? Other than just a nostalgia factor, the theme here is on point. The rooms on the board, the unique and playful art on the ghost cards, the chaotic moving hallway all have direct ties to the ride. It gives off a wacky and wild feeling through the gameplay and the presentation that, in my opinion, really does the ride justice. Speaking of the gameplay, it gives off a really tight feeling despite how simple it is. While there is a degree of unpredictability in the game, the actions and the turn structure always provide you with a way to recover from that, or even use it to your advantage. It just feels really good to play. Plus, between the rotating hallway, the dueling, and the hitchhiking ghosts, there's so many different opportunities for player interaction in this game. And it does such a good job of keeping every player engaged during every step of the game. And while we're on the topic, I just love this rotating hallway. Not only is it fun to just spin it around, but it also has a really interesting impact on the decision space. It requires you to take into account not only where you're going to end up, but also where your opponents are going to end up. And I also really enjoyed the haunt card system. Because of the way that the haunt cards affect endgame scoring, players spend the entire game pursuing this balancing act of trying to grow their ghost collection while shedding haunt cards and trying to force other players to take more. It results in a lot of nuance that elevates the game to something better than just an IP cash grab. And last, but not least, it's box time! The inside of the box is actually really well organized. It has designated spaces for all of the cards that keep them tight in place while still being easy to remove them from the box. Plus it has nice recessed spaces for the larger components. But my favorite part about the box is definitely the inside of the lid. Anyone who's familiar with the ride will recognize this image immediately. It's just such a nice little Easter egg that they snuck into the box. Overall, I feel like this is a really good box. It not only gets the job done, but it does so with a nice little nostalgic flair. So, what did I not like? Well, one thing worth mentioning is that the game loses a lot of its tightness once you bring in a 5th or a 6th player. At 2 to 4 players, the game just feels like there's a natural flow that allows for big plays and strategic maneuvering. But at 5 and 6, the unpredictability ramps up too high to really allow for any kind of big brain plays. Once you bring in a 5th or 6th player, it just kinda turns the game into a beer and pretzels type game. Another issue is that sometimes, depending on the cards in play, turn order can carry a lot of weight. Typically, I'll have one turn every game where it gets to me and practically all the good cards are gone and there's not really anything worth doing on my turn. It's not even something that I noticed much when playing. It was more of something that afterwards, when I was thinking about the good and the not so good about the game, that it kinda stood out in my brain after the fact. Lastly, this one is the definition of nitpick. Why are the haunt cards so freaking tiny? Not only is trying to shuffle them a challenge, but because there's so many of them, trying to keep them stacked on top of each other during the game without getting knocked over is an even bigger challenge. Even the slightest bit of movement and boom, they all go down. And this gets really annoying because every time you discard a haunt card, you have to pick up that haunt stack and then add that discarded one to the bottom of it. It feels like a reverse Jenga mini game that I didn't sign up for. But besides that small handful of issues, it's actually a pretty solid game.
So-called scientists said the formula was too dangerous. They called us irresponsible, claiming it was unfit for consumption. But who listens to those nerds anyway? Splorgle Blast! Never let the party die!
Now for the solo mode review, please welcome our resident solo reviewer, Mortimer.
There's no solo mode. Listen, I'm scared to death about this Vinny situation. Just tell me you figured out a way for us to pay him back.
I told you, dude, we're gonna figure this out. We've got one more review to make tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it. Just not on air, bro. Remember, not on air.
No, we're gonna talk about it right now.
Lake Tahoe.
What?
You remember what happened in Lake Tahoe, right?
Don't you dare bring that up, dude.
Dude, I'm just saying you gotta trust me, okay? I got us out of that situation in Lake Tahoe. I'm gonna get us out of this one too.
Oh, fine.
Okay. So yeah, no solo mode. So that's the Haunted Mansion: Call of the Spirits. It's a fun and engaging set collection game with a nice balance of player interaction and strategic depth. I think it's the kind of game that will really appeal to Disney park fans, families, and people with fond memories of the ride. But it's also just a delightful game mechanically that could probably be enjoyed by those that have never been on the ride as well. It's become a Halloween staple in my collection, and I've never had a bad time playing it. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty good. Well, that's gonna do it for this one. As always, thanks for watching, and remember to shop at your local board game store if you can. Shelbert, dude, I just said to stop giving the crew Splorgle Blast.